Okay, everyone. Welcome to AspenTech's ACT version 17 overview for our version 15 or 2013 users. I'm Marshall Knapp, a senior consultant here at AspenTech, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules for our webinar. We've got a lot of people on the call today, so we're going to keep all the lines muted. As we go along here, feel free to post questions to the chat. That's over in the GoToWebinar control panel over on the right-hand side. And we're going to stop at a couple of points throughout the presentation to address any questions that have been asked over there. Also in that control panel is a attachments area or a handouts area. There's a couple of PDFs there that you can download, including this presentation. And so there's a couple of helpful things there that you may want to download to have after this. Also, following today's webinar, you're definitely going to be hearing from us. We'll get an email out to you tomorrow with some more pricing information, feature comparison, as well as a recording of today's webinar. In the next couple of weeks, we also plan to reach out to each of you to talk more about an ACT upgrade and if it makes sense for your business. So here's our agenda for the next hour or so. First, we want to talk about what is the ACT 2013 obsolescence and sunset. We want to talk a little bit about ACT version 17 and the new features and functionality that are there to be gained by that. We'll do a live demo of ACT version 17 as well. We'll stop to answer some questions. We're going to talk about new ACT subscription plans, special version 17 pricing, do a little bit more with questions, and then we'll wrap things up. So what is the ACT 2013 obsolescence and sunset? When a product enters into obsolescence, it signals the official end of the useful life of the product. And the sunset indicates that the software vendor will no longer provide support or updates for the product. AspenTech can continue to support our clients, but your product may not work with newer versions of Windows, Office, newer internet browsers, smartphones, tablets, things like that. Any new technology may not work with it. And unfortunately, ACT isn't going to do anything to make these older, obsolete, sunset versions compatible with the newer technology. Just in the last couple of years, Microsoft released Windows 8, Windows 10, Server 2012, Office 2013, the new Edge internet browser. And there's plans for an Office 2016 release later this fall. Additionally, once a product is sunset, if there's an issue AspenTech can't resolve, we can't turn to ACT for additional assistance or for repair of a damaged database. Essentially, our hands are tied at that point. So we'll continue to try to help you as much as we can. There's only so far we can take that. There are also loyalty discounts for users who are on a product that is not yet obsolete and sunset. This used to be upgrade pricing. You'll learn more about a new pricing model a little later in our presentation. In addition, once your product is obsolete and sunset, you can't buy any additional licenses for that version. So if you plan to add any new staff or team members or expand your business in any way, you won't be able to buy new licenses for an obsolete or sunset product. Obviously, the idea here is to get you off of the product that is about to become obsolete and sunset. And the latest release in the ACT portfolio is ACT version 17. So let's take a look at what you gain from a V17 upgrade. First, the end user features. There's a brand new view called the history list. If you're familiar with the task list at all, it looks very similar, but it actually gives you more of a rear-facing view of what's been happening with the database as opposed to what you have planned for the future. You also have the ability now to reschedule multiple activities all at once. ACT now maintains an original scheduled date for activities, so as you're rescheduling those, you can see what date they were originally scheduled for. There's new keyword filters for sub-entities like notes, histories, activities, opportunities, things like that. From the universal search view, we now have the ability to create lookups of contacts and companies. In the Documents tab, we now have the ability to do links to folders on our network, as well as links to online storage solutions, things like maybe Dropbox or Google Drive, things like that that you might be using. So we have those capabilities now. There's a new Contact Timeline tab, which gives us sort of a visual timeline of the notes, the histories, the activities, and the opportunities for a contact. We have the ability to capture new leads from a web form directly into the ACT database. There's also been some improvements to the Act Mobile functionality, the addition of the Groups module in Act Mobile, the Companies module in Act Mobile, some additional list view filters that we now have, so we can filter some of the lists there a little bit better than we could before. And also the ability to snap a photo from your mobile device and attach that to the history of a record. There's also a brand new e-marketing platform called Act e-marketing, and integration with that is built right into the new Act system here. On the administrative or behind the scenes side of new features and functionality, there's literally been hundreds of bug fixes over the last few versions of the product. We have Office 2013 compatibility, Windows 8 and 10 compatibility, Google Chrome compatibility for Act Web, the Act Scheduler, that utility that runs on your server that creates, does your automatic backups, your maintenance routines, things like that, now has the ability to notify you via email when those tasks are successful or they fail. We can alter our duplicate checking settings during the import process. We can edit drop-downs while adding fields. We can create new fields called calculated fields, taking numeric calculations or date-based calculations and displaying the results of those right inside your Act database. We have the ability now to hide inactive users that are no longer with the organization or are no longer using the product. We can hide those from our drop-down lists and things like that so they don't clutter those and get in our way. We also have completely free browse users now in Act version 17. So if you have some users who could benefit by having read-only access to the database, they are now completely free to add to the system. We have the ability to automatically create company records. There's a new feature now called admin notifications, which allows an administrator to go in, specify a notification, and have that pop up each time a user logs into Act. We have global preference management, so more and more of the Act preferences are now being stored as part of the database, so that when a new user gets, or a user gets a new PC, or you add a new user to the system, you don't have to reconfigure quite so many of those preferences for them. They're built into the database, they're stored there. Those preferences include default history options now, the ability to specify whether your history defaults to a call or a meeting or a to-do, things like that. We can now customize the what we call big buttons, the big easy buttons, right on the main toolbar within the application. There's been some Outlook sync improvements, both the ability to do a one-way synchronization for users where it makes sense to do that sort of thing, as opposed to the two-way that was always there before, as well as some stability improvements as well. And in the Act Web product, we now have the ability to define fields, design layouts, import data, and perform some data cleanup through the edit, replace, swap, and copy functions. So there's really a lot here with the version 17 product. Let's take a closer look at some of the new features and functionality here. Okay. So what we're looking at here is Act version 17. I'm actually going to start with the new Act e-marketing platform. Okay? You see there's an e-marketing view inside of version 17. And this is sort of your central hub or control panel for your e-marketing account. You can see an account overview here, different actions you can take related to Act e-marketing, from building your groups to capturing leads from a web forum to creating templates, sending the campaign, and then tracking the results of that and analyzing that. The editor itself is actually an online editor, very easy to use here. Let me pull that up, bring that over here. So if we take a look at a particular template here, this is one that I just sent out recently. You can actually look and see what this template looks like. This is built directly in Act e-marketing. Act e-marketing gives you the ability to preview these templates, preview them on different devices to see what they might look like, from different types of devices that you would send a test email to yourself, see what it would look like with images on or off. You can then go in and edit that template as well. You'll see this is a very easy to use, oops, looks like my session timed out. When I get into the editor here, you'll see this is a very easy to use visual graphics editor for HTML email templates. Let me get back over to templates here. I'm going to edit this particular one. So here's my template itself. It's very easy to go in and modify text within here. Just click the text editor, go in there, type some new text in that you want to see there. There's also formatting options for that text, like bold, italics, underline, different things like bulleted and numbered lists, inserting hyperlinks. You can insert document links. You can adjust colors and fonts, and all those different sorts of things you'd expect to be able to do there. And it's all very easy to do within the text editor here. From the layout mode itself, I can very easily duplicate objects that are in here, like add another object, and then maybe say I want to put a different image in there. So I can go over to my image library, maybe grab something else from the travel section of my images, and drop that into a section within the template here. So, not sure why that one's not going in there. Let me pull this down here. There we go. So let me drop it in there. So then maybe up with the duplicate section here that I created. But you can drag and drop images directly into the template from your image library here. You can link to URLs, other documents, do a mail to type of hyperlink, things like that within here. It's very easy to use in this sort of what we call WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get editor here. Okay. We're going to save our changes to that, and we'll close out of our template. I actually sent that template to a few people yesterday. And if I go back to the ACT product itself, I've got what they call a call list here. And this is the call list for this particular email that I sent yesterday. And there's 4 contacts in this call list. These are the people that actually opened the email itself. So I can actually go in after sending an email blast through ACT, pull up the call list for that particular email, and I can see a list of all the people who opened that. This list is going to show me how many times they opened it, if they forwarded it on to somebody else, any clicks on particular links within the email, and all of that's going to tie into an overall score for the call list. People who open it more, click on more links, things like that are going to have a higher score. Those people it would be safe to assume probably that those are people who are more interested in the content of the email that we sent out. And then we could follow up with a subsequent email to them, maybe a timely phone call, things like that. So I can actually take this call list. I can check off all these people individually if I just want to select some of them, or I can select all. I can record a history directly to them. I can schedule a follow-up activity, maybe for a salesperson to reach out to them and contact them about their interest in this promotion or whatever it was that we emailed about. Or I can create a lookup of them and just start taking that action myself. Just go right in and start contacting these individuals. So there's some really powerful features within that e-marketing view in the system here. In addition, you also have e-marketing reports. And so the reporting that's available in the portal here as well will tell you how many people opened it. You'll be able to see bounces, unsubscribes, clicks on particular links, different things like that, and be able to utilize that information to help you for future campaigns or understand, why a particular campaign went really well or maybe why it didn't. Okay. All right. Let's talk about some of the other end user features here. So one of the first ones that I mentioned was the history list. This is sort of the rear-facing view of your ACT database, where something like the task list will tell you what you have planned in the future. The history list is going to tell you what's happened in the past. So this would be great for an individual user to be able to go in here and see maybe over the course of the last week or month, what emails they've sent, what calls they've made, what meetings they've had, to maybe serve as a reminder of some follow-up that they need to do or things like that. Could also be great for a sales manager or a business owner to be able to go in here and see sort of an overview of what different users are doing within the system. So you'll see the date, the time of the action, who it was scheduled or who it happened with, what company that was, what it was they actually did between the result here and the regarding here. And you have the ability to filter this list by dates, by the types of histories that you want to see, even by keyword if you want to search by that, or by user as well. You can also take this list and you can dump it right out to Excel. So if you want to create sort of an ad hoc report, maybe you want to see a chart or a graph or something like that based off of this information, it's very quick and easy to do a dump of that history data right into Excel. And you can build some fancy charts and graphs that Excel allows you to do based off this information. Another new feature is the ability to maintain an original schedule date for activities. So you see this as a column here that we've added to this activities view, the task list. It allows us to maintain the original schedule date, so we know as we're rescheduling certain activities, maybe how long this particular item has been pushed out. Along those same lines, ACT now allows you to reschedule multiple activities all at once. So I've highlighted multiple activities. I can go to reschedule. Let's maybe set those for tomorrow and say OK. And now if I scroll down in the list here, I'm going to see those particular activities. Where'd they go? I apologize here. Oh, you know what? Hang on just a second. Let's reschedule those again. So timeless, August 20th. Oh, I think I need to filter this here. Let's go back to all users. And down to the bottom. So, oh, okay, hang on just a second here. Let me reschedule a couple more here and just make sure I've got those right. The 21st, say OK. And we'll scroll down here. Well, as is typical with a live demo, something went wrong here. I'm not seeing those activities in here. I do have confidence that this feature does work. I'm not quite sure what's going on in our demo system right now, whether that's a filter or something like that, but those activities should be showing for the appropriate date down here on August 21st. Oh, you know what? I'm looking at the original date. That's my mistake here. They are all right here. I'm looking over here in the original date, and this is where I should have been looking. So here are all of our rescheduled activities. I apologize for that. And here are the original dates of those activities. So it is indeed working. As I mentioned earlier, we also have the ability to now do keyword searches and filters within particular sub-entities like notes and histories and activities and things like that. We go to a contact that actually has something filled in here. So if I go to the notes for this particular one, I want to filter this. You know, for example, if there was a dozen notes or 50 notes on this particular record, and I type in something like system and hit go, and it filters these notes down to just those that meet the criteria somewhere in either the regarding or the details of those. Okay. That same functionality exists as well on the History tab and the Activities tab. Additionally, you also have the ability to reschedule multiple activities from the Activities tab itself. So really anywhere you can see the activities in a list view like this, you can reschedule those multiple activities. Another new feature is the ability to create a lookup from the universal search view here. So I'm just going to search a term here. Let's just search press, for example. And it very quickly and easily comes back with all the items that meet that criteria. So you can see there's an opportunity, there's some activities, there's a history, there's some attachments. What I don't see here without actually clicking on an individual item here is sort of anything more about that, you know, who it's associated with or anything like that. But what I can do now in this new version of the software is I can create a contact lookup or a company lookup for the contacts or companies that are associated with these particular items in the list. So by clicking on the contacts lookup here, now I have 3 contacts that those items stem from in my universal search here. I'll do that again. And let me just go into one of these contacts. Some other new things to show you here. On the Documents tab, we have the ability to not only add the files and shortcuts to files like we've always had the ability to do, but we have the ability as well to add shortcuts to folders. So for example, I added one here to a utilities folder on our T drive. I can double click on that and it opens me directly to that particular folder here. So instead of attaching individual files, we can just do a link to the entire folder itself. Additionally, we also have the ability to do links and URLs within here. So if you're using Dropbox or iCloud or Google Drive or SharePoint or anything like that for document storage, and you want to link those documents to the ACT database, you can utilize the new attach link here to attach these items. Even though they're in online resources, they're not in the traditional file and folder hierarchy that you have on your PC. So for example, here's a Dropbox file that I've attached here. You double click on that, and it goes ahead and just opens that right in your internet browser in the traditional way that it would. A couple of other new things down here. The timeline tab is a graphical overview, a graphical timeline representing the notes, the histories, the activities, and the opportunities for a particular contact. By default, you get 2 weeks into the past and 2 weeks into the future. So essentially, you're looking at a 4-week view here by default. It's very easy, though, to go in and change the date range. So if you want to see something maybe from beginning of the year moving forward, you can certainly do that as well. You'll notice my scroll bar down at the bottom here has automatically resized now to fit the new window that I'm looking at. And I can do a couple of different things here. I can zoom out by stretching that scroll bar across, and I can actually see, all 8 months here in totality in one view. Or I can zoom back in by resizing that, and then I can scroll back and forth between the different areas. You'll see it shows the month and the days, and you can hover over particular items or click on them to actually bring them up, different things like that. So as you have a lot of contacts that have, many notes, many histories, many activities, many opportunities in a short period of time, this can give you a good way of seeing an overview of what's going on with that contact without having to click through multiple different tabs to see all that information. There's also a new feature over in the groups area called lead capture. And let me actually go to a different group here. So this ties into groups in that the way these leads download, they're actually going to come into the group as members of that group, so it allows you to easily see where these contacts came from. But I was able to create a very simple and straightforward like newsletter sign-up form here. ACT actually gives us then the code that we need if we want to just embed this in our website, whether it's in an iframe here or directly on the site using some of the HTML code, or maybe we just want to email this URL out to people to see if they want to sign up for something in particular. Maybe it's something like a newsletter, maybe it's an event that you're holding, different things like that. You can do so, and you can have that automatically bring those contacts back into the ACT database here. So you can actually see here the form that we created for this particular one. And as people fill that out, you come in here, you hit Get Leads, it automatically downloads the leads directly into this particular group within the ACT system. I'm actually going to minimize ACT here in a couple of these browser windows. And I'm going to get a different browser up here. Oh, that's not the right one. There we go. I want to talk about some of the new functionality inside of ACT Mobile. So this is ACT Mobile here. I'm obviously using it on a PC through an internet browser, so I've taken my Google Chrome browser and I've resized it to look like a smartphone. And what I want to show you is a couple of new features and functions here that are available here. Google Chrome tends to emulate a smartphone best as far as the PC browsers go. They've added now the Groups module and the Companies module to ACT Mobile. So I can go to groups, I can search within groups just like I can search within other modules. I could scroll down, locate a particular group. Maybe I want to find my customers without email addresses, okay? And I want to see who's in this group. I can see members of this group here. I can potentially click on one of those members, things like that. Company functionality works very much the same way. So you can pull up the company's view, see different company level records within the database, potentially click on one of those. You could write an email to all the members of that particular company, all the contacts that are part of that company. You could schedule an activity, insert a note, record a history. This attach photo here, it's a brand new function that exists across contacts, groups, companies, and you can go in and actually attach a photo directly from your smartphone or your mobile device that you're using. And so what this is going to do is, you're probably familiar with different apps like Facebook and things like that accessing your camera on the device. That's exactly what this does. And it allows you to choose from your existing photo library, or it allows you to take a photo right at that time. So maybe you're in the insurance business, you're out doing a claim inspection or something like that, you want to snap some photos, attach them right to the contact, you can do that. If you deal maybe more with machines and maintenance and things like that, and you have people in the field that need to take a photo of a particular issue that somebody's seeing, a broken part, take a photo of a real estate listing or something like that, you can do that. You can attach those things directly into the contact, the company records, things like that within Act Mobile here. Additionally, they've also added some functionality in the ability to filter different areas of Act Mobile. So the filters are greatly expanded here. So you see you have a lot of different filters, for example, in the task list to filter by dates, by types, by priority, whether or not you want to show time lists, by users, ability to show cleared or not, all those different things now within the list view filters. That's a lot of the end user functionality that's new to V17. Let's take a look at some more of the administrative functionality. I can't easily show things like bug fixes or Office 2013 or Windows 8 or Windows 10 compatibility or Google Chrome compatibility, but we can talk more about some of the other specific features that are part of this. One is the Act Scheduler. So let me bring up Act. Let me go Tools into our Act Scheduler here. And within the Act Scheduler, we now have the ability to set up the email alerts. And so this is the application that performs your automated database backups on your server, the automated database maintenance. And these are obviously very important tasks. We now have the ability to email an individual regarding the success or failure of these tasks, so that obviously if backups are failing or maintenance tasks are failing, you can be on top of that and address those very, very quickly. During the import process, we now have the ability to actually manage our duplicate checking settings as we're going through here. So let me just grab a file here to import. I got to select the right file type, and we'll go back out here and grab this import here. So as we scroll through here, we now have the ability to change the duplicate checking settings right within here. So we're currently matching on company, contact, and email. Maybe email is not part of the import that I'm doing here, so I want to take that off of my criteria. I can do that here. I can't tell you how many times we've gotten to this point in the wizard before, realized we'd forgotten to change the duplicate checking settings, had to cancel out of everything, go back, set the duplicate checking, then come back in here. So this is a very helpful new feature to have within here. Kind of along those same lines, under the Define Fields area of the database, you now have the ability when you're creating a new field to actually create a new drop-down list. Same thing here. I can't tell you how many times we've been defining a new field, realized the drop-down list wasn't yet there, and had to maybe cancel out or at least circle back after the drop-down was created. Now you have the ability to create a brand new list as you're defining the field itself. Another new function within here is the ability to create calculated fields. So calculated is now actually a field type, where you can go in and select whether or not you want to do a numeric calculation or a date calculation. And you could, for example, if you base this off the anniversary field and you do something like years since, it'll tell us how long somebody's been married. I've actually set up a couple of these inside the database itself here, one for birth dates and another for commissions. If we look at the personal info tab here of this particular contact, you see our birthday is filled in. It automatically calculates the age of the contact for me. It does that across the board through all the contacts in the database. That's all happening automatically. I mentioned also I created a commission field. Same thing here under opportunities. This is a calculated field, but instead of this being a date calculation, this is a numeric calculation. And all it's doing is taking the total amount of the opportunity and multiplying that by 20% to give us the commission here. It would be just as easy, though, to add a commission percentage field here and actually have it multiply the total times the commission percentage field. Maybe that's a drop-down or something like that. Or maybe it varies by user, and then that would calculate the commission accordingly here. We also have the ability now to hide inactive users from our Schedule For and Record Manager dropdowns. So if you have a lot of turnover, or you've just been using ACT for a long time, and obviously turnover is natural, and you end up with a number of inactive users in this list, you can now hide those so that you don't have to worry about filtering through those when you click on something like a calendar select users filter, or when you go to schedule an activity for somebody else, you're not seeing all the inactive users in that list. Additionally, we also have the ability now to create completely free browse user accounts. So combine that with the web version, and it's really simple and easy to deploy ACT to new users who really just need read-only access, and it doesn't really cost you anything. There's a number of things here within the preferences of the application. One thing here is the admin notifications. So you can actually enable custom messaging here, and an administrator can go in here and say, let's say Labor Day weekend. And we'll type in, don't forget the office is closed on Monday, September 7th. All right, so then every time somebody logs into ACT, they'll actually get a notification right down here. It'll pop up, and we'll show them this note. Now, it could be great for something like this. It could be something like, don't forget to turn in your TPS reports by end of day Friday. Whatever it might be, you can enable the custom messaging. You can get messages out to your ACT users very quickly and easily. Additionally, there's also ACT announcements that are included in this. Some might be related to, an ACT obsolescence, a new release, a really important bug that people need to be aware of, or a fix for something, or an update, or anything along those lines that ACT might want to push out as well. You can enable or disable the ACT announcements too, and again, those will just pop up down in the lower right corner when users sign into the system. We also have the ability now to do a number of different preferences as what we call global preferences. If I go to calendars and activities, all these activity scheduling preferences now you can set, and then you can hit update, and then it's going to apply those settings to all users in the system. This used to be a user by user type of setting. Now you can update that and apply it to all users. You don't have to, but you have that option. You can do something similar with the word processor setting here, whether that's Microsoft Word or the ACT word processor. You can also do something very similar with the startup view here, the ability to update that. Another new setting inside the preferences here is the default history options. So if you're making an awful lot of phone calls, and those are the things that you're primarily recording to history in a manual fashion, now you can set the default to be whatever you want it to be. For example, phone call. This list used to just go alphabetically, so appointment was the default. Now we can specify whatever we want to have as the default, and out of the box, the default is going to be phone call here. We also have an ability to automatically create company-level records now. So in the companies module over here, you used to have to either create them manually, or you'd have to purchase a third-party tool to create them automatically. Now that's built into the system here. So what you can do is you can tell it that when it finds a certain number of contacts, all with the same company name, to go ahead and create a company-level record for them. So it might be, if you leave it at 0, it's off, but if you might set it to 1 or 2, then it's going to automatically create company records anytime it finds that number of contacts with the same company name. So maybe you only want it to create when there's 2 or more contacts. Okay, we'll say OK. It tells me it's actually going to create 26 new companies right here and now, and that's instantaneous. It automatically creates that new company record, or those new company records, as soon as that criteria is met. It does so right in the background. So if I go over to companies, now all those new companies are now part of this list here. We also have the ability now to customize these buttons here. So this is your global toolbar. This is the toolbar that's going to be consistent in every single area of the application that you go to. And we have the ability now to add custom buttons to here. I mentioned earlier some Outlook sync improvements. So we now have the ability in the Outlook synchronization here for calendars and contacts to choose let me let this catch up just a second here, to choose a one-way sync option as well as the original two-way sync that was already here. So you see there's a one-way sync and two-way sync. There's also been some stability improvements that have taken place here as well to make this a more reliable function in ACT version 17. And then there's just a few more things I want to show you here that are within the ACT Web product. Let me pull that up. I mentioned earlier that ACT Web is now fully supported with Google Chrome. So here we are inside Google Chrome. Some new features and functionality that are within here. We have the ability to define fields now, design layouts, import data, and also do some data cleanup through things like edit, replace, swap, and copy. All of these were Windows-only functions in the past. The gap is closing between Windows and web, enabling people to manage the system even when they're maybe working remote and only have web access from, say, a home computer or a business center in a hotel or whatever it might be. So, I hope you thought that was helpful. I'm going to circle back to our PowerPoint here, and we'll continue going through a few things there. All right, let's take a few minutes now to address some of the questions that have been posed in the chat up to this point. This is a good natural sort of break point here. So let me go in and review those here, and we'll see if we can address some of those questions. Okay, so one of the questions was relative to e-marketing. Can we have categories in the My Images? Yes, you can absolutely create folders within the My Images categories there. Somebody asked, we're currently on Act 13 and use mostly the desktop application because it seems to be a bit more robust than the web-based product. A couple of questions on that. Is all of the functionality in V17 available in the web version? And is 17 completely browser-based or is it still server-based? Let me answer the question about web-based versus server-client-based. ACT is definitely still server client based as well. With ACT, you have a lot of different deployment options. You can deploy in a traditional server client, with local desktops accessing a database over the network. You can deploy remote databases to remote computers like desktops that are at home or in remote offices, or potentially laptops that travel with people. There's also the web and the mobile access. So you have the web-based access, which is the full browser from, say, a PC or a Mac, whereas the mobile access is what you're going to be using from your smartphones and tablets. You can also do things like remote desktop or terminal server access as well, or Citrix, and all of these things are available potentially with just the regular ACT Premium licenses. You have a lot of flexibility in the deployment options here. The other part to that question was, is all the functionality in version 17 available in the browser version? It's not all there, but that gap is closing, and it's becoming less and less with every release of the product. So what we'd want to do is take a closer look at your situation, your users, what it is that they utilize, and see if it makes sense to maybe switch to a browser-based access. So another question was, is it possible to run keyword searches on more than one contact at a time within the notes and histories, i.e. searching through all the notes in the database for a keyword? Yes, absolutely. In fact, that's one of the key things that the universal search does right up here. So if I search something like press, which is part of one of the examples that we did, I can search that, and then I can actually filter my results over here to just particular types of items. So it doesn't look like there's any notes that actually have that in there, so notes isn't a great example for me at this point, but if I wanted to filter that to something like activities only, I can do that very easily. So, and obviously you could notes, but only if there were results in notes. So, another thing that might be beneficial too is from the history list as well. This is a history of all records in the database. You can also do a keyword search within here. So someone mentioned here they like having a user manual so they can read step by step how to do particular actions. Is there a complete user manual that I can download and print? There's not really a complete user manual that ACT puts out any longer. They did away with that a few years ago. However, there are some basic manuals that are available through the help menu here. You see online manuals, there's a new user quick start guide, there's the ACT quick reference card. But these are by no means all encompassing of all features and functionality within the product. The best resource for step-by-step documentation of the ACT product is actually going to be the knowledge base. kb.act.com will take you right there. So it's kb.act.com. That's the knowledge base. And that'll take you directly to a searchable knowledge base. Or maybe you want to learn how to import a CSV file, for example. You search that. It says how to import contact data from an Excel, comment-limited, or text-limited file into ACT. You can click there, and you'll get step-by-step documentation on how to do those types of things. We'll take a couple more minutes here to address just a few more questions. One is ACT Web a separate product? No, it's not. It's built into the premium product. It's a little bit of additional installation and configuration on the server, but it's not any separate licenses that you need to purchase or anything like that. Are all the features you mentioned included in pricing, or are some add-ons for pricing? Everything we just went through in the live demo is built into the premium product, including even the e-marketing. Every ACT user on version 17 gets a free basic e-marketing account that gives each of your users the ability to send an unlimited number of emails to up to 500 contacts every single month. Now, there are additional levels above and beyond that which do require an additional subscription, but everything we really covered up to this point in the live demo is included with an ACT Premium license. Is it possible to deploy a local server-based version and still have access to that via the browser, or do you have to choose between them? Absolutely possible. In fact, that's what most of our clients do, is they have some sort of a hybrid environment. Is there a need for Swiftpage anymore, or will this new ACT have the same features for sending mass emails? So Swiftpage still exists along with ACT e-marketing. There are some advantages to Swiftpage still. Swiftpage has surveys. Swiftpage has drip marketing. The ACT e-marketing product does not yet have those features. The idea is to ultimately close the gap between those and be able to replace the ACT e-marketing, Swiftpage with ACT e-marketing entirely, but it's not quite there yet. Obviously, the new built-in integration is very nice. The new template editor is very nice, but if you rely on things like surveys or drip marketing, you'll probably want to stay on Swiftpage, at least for the time being. I'm just going to address one more question here before we jump back into the rest of the presentation, and then there will be additional time as well for questions at the end here. So the last question here is ACT Mobile a new product? ACT Mobile was new with the ACT 2012 release. In fact, it was actually a service pack update to ACT 2012, and then was actually built into the ACT Web product with the release of ACT 2013. And actually, one correction here. I'm going to go back to one of the questions about manuals. Yes, there actually is a manual available that apparently I was not aware of, but a couple of other people here thankfully were. There is a manual that's available on the ACT site, and actually that's something that if anybody's interested, just email us and we'll provide you with a link to where you can find that manual. So thank you guys for bringing that to my attention. All right, as I mentioned, we're going to address some more questions later on here, so please continue posting those to the chat over in your control panel on the right side there, and we'll address some additional questions towards the tail end of the presentation here. All right, so let's talk about how you'd go about upgrading to ACT version 17. All right, ACT has introduced new subscription plans. This is a new pricing model as of June 1st of this year. With the new ACT subscriptions, you receive all the updates, service packs, hot fixes, and version upgrades, going from version 17 to 18 to 19, things like that. You also receive support, which is unlimited access to ACT's help desk for basic troubleshooting and break-fix support. You also get extras like ACT Anytime Learning, which is a great refresher to supplement other training that you're doing, or to expand use into a different area of the product to get a good overview of what that area maybe has to offer for you, as well as some things relating to ACT e-marketing. And with subscription, there are really three types of plans here moving forward. There's the annual plan. This is the first one we'll talk about here. With the annual plan, you would continue to host your ACT database yourself or with the hosting provider of your choice. You'd get access to the Windows, web, and mobile clients. All three of those things are included in the premium product. You get all the updates, so service packs, hot fixes, version upgrades. You get your free ACT marketing accounts. You get unlimited basic technical support and break-fix help. You get access to the Anytime Learning video tutorials. This plan, though, does require that you renew each year in order to continue using your ACT software. Another plan is the Perpetual plan. In year one of a Perpetual plan, you have the exact same benefits as you do with the annual plan. So all the same support, updates, things like that. The big difference is that in year two, you don't need to renew your subscription in order to continue using your software. That's the Perpetual component of this. However, beyond year one, you do lose the support, the updates. Now, that being said, you can purchase Perpetual licenses to have that perpetual aspect of your ownership of the license, yet renew into annual plans after your first year. Some clients may be interested in that. So that would allow you to continue to own the licenses like you always have, but also get the benefits of having something like the annual plan. Another option is the ACT Premium Cloud annual subscription. This is identical to the annual subscription that we mentioned a couple of slides ago, except ACT actually hosts your main database. This means your database is stored in a secure data center. It's automatically backed up and maintained according to best practices. Allows you really to free yourself from the need to have a server in-house or worry about things like VPN connections for sync or port forwarding for web and mobile access, things like that. And so this is a good option if you don't have a server or are looking to get away from having a server in-house. So there's a few new plans here relative to ACT version 17, and we've secured some excellent pricing from Swiftpage for the next month and a half or so. Let's take a look and see how that shapes up. So all the pricing you're looking at here are for clients with 1 to 4 licenses. Anybody with 5 or more licenses, there's some additional volume discounts there. We can talk to you individually about those. So note the significant jumps, particularly in the annual and perpetual plans here, between August 31st, September 30th, and October 1st. The reason for these jumps is the obsolescence and the sunset of the ACT 2013 product, combined with some marketing initiatives we were able to secure to make this transition as easy as possible for you guys. So for example, the ACT Premium Annual for 1 to 4 users, this is the price per user. By August 31st, that's only $171 per year per user. And by September 30, so between September 1 and September 30, it's $181. That price jumps on October 1 to $238 per user per year. That's because the ACT 2013 product no longer qualifies for the loyalty discount at that point. And so the price jumps. Same thing with the ACT Premium Perpetual license. By August 31st, it's $343. By September 30th, it's $381. But on or after October 1st, it's $475. There's some less significant items under the ACT Premium Cloud. Cloud doesn't necessarily qualify for loyalty discounts, so the jumps aren't as significant there, but we have secured a discount for clients interested in doing that. That is good through the end of the month here. Here's another slide showing the same pricing but a different way, including the per license savings relative to the dates we just discussed. And in addition, ACT Premium annual clients will be grandfathered in the yearly savings by acting before September 30. So not only does this impact what happens with version 17 now, but as you continue to move forward, if you're on an annual subscription, you'll continue to realize some of the loyalty benefits here that you otherwise wouldn't if you allow your Act 2013 product to become obsolete without upgrading it. Remember as well, this is 1 to 4 license pricing. Many of you on this call have 5 or more licenses, and we'll be able to quote you specific to your situation. So if this is something you want to move on before the end of the month here, please let us know. We'll reach out to you immediately, and we'll get a quote into your hands. Otherwise, we'll certainly be reaching out to everybody on this call, hopefully within the next couple of weeks here, and can certainly get you in before the 9/30 deadline as well. All right. Let's stop for another minute here and address a few more questions. And so there's a question about whether or not existing customizations are protected and will move forward to new versions as you upgrade. They absolutely will. The fields that you've defined in your database, the drop-down list, the layout, the product list, the user settings, all of those things carry forward moving into new versions of the product. So most definitely. There's a couple of questions about integration, integrating with Constant Contact. There's nothing built into ACT that integrates with Constant Contact. I believe there is some functionality that exists out there where you can export data, obviously from ACT, and maybe import it into Constant Contact, but no built-in integration inside the ACT product. Do we know if ACT is compatible with MAS90? Kind of along the same lines, there's nothing built into the ACT product there, but actually with MAS90, I do know that there is a third-party integration component that can tie the two systems together. So I'm not sure who asked that question, but definitely something we can talk further with you about. We'll note that in our notes here. With the Perpetual plan, does that mean you get free basic e-marketing into perpetuity, even if you cancel? So yeah, with the Perpetual plan, you are entitled to a free e-marketing account. That does not stop after year 1. Not clear on the difference between annual and perpetual licenses. So with annual is something you're going to pay for each and every year in order to continue to use the ACT product that you have installed. Okay, ACT will actually check in and verify that your subscription is still active. Or if the computer is offline for a certain period of time and is not able to check in, it will simply stop working with an annual plan. Okay? So after a year, that license stops working unless you renew it. With Perpetual, it continues working beyond year 1. You don't have to pay for anything in year 2 to continue using your ACT license. So it's kind of similar to the Perpetual is kind of similar to what you had in the past. You buy the license, you use it for as long as it works for you, and it's not like you need to renew anything or anything like that. The other big difference between the two is that annual always includes all of the updates, including the service packs, the hot fixes, and the version upgrades. So going from, say, version 17 to 18 to 19, those are automatically included in annual, whereas Perpetual only includes those for the first year. Additionally, annual includes unlimited basic technical support, break-fix type of support directly from ACT for the duration of your subscription. The Perpetual plan only includes that for year 1. Also, with the annual plans, remember that by acting now while your ACT 2013 product is still current and before it's obsolete and sunset, you're grandfathered into an ongoing discount year after year with that annual plan. Someone asked a question here, can I still send out a mail merge email through Outlook as an ACT template? Yes, you absolutely can. We recommend that that's something that you do with only a small number of contacts in your database and that you do it somewhat infrequently. Doing that to large numbers of contacts or doing that very often can make you look like a spammer to your internet service provider or to other internet service providers around the globe. And you don't want that because then there's a greater likelihood that your just generic, one-off type emails that you're sending to people are going to end up in their junk folder. There's also a possibility that you might get blacklisted, and you don't want that to happen either. Another question here, will the demo be available to view before expiration date? Yes, we're going to get this demo video out to you within the next couple of days here, so you'll be able to view this here very, very shortly. How many contacts can I send a mass email to using ACT marketing in a day? Well, there is no daily limit. There used to be a daily limit with the Swiftpage email. And instead of a daily limit, what they're giving you is the ability to send an unlimited number of emails to a certain number of contacts every single month. Okay? So it's the number of unique contacts you're sending to that matters here, not necessarily how many emails are actually being sent. And the plans, the base plans range from the 500, which is the free basic account, to 2,500 in a pro account, to 5,000 in a team account. You can also add new blocks of 1,000 emails for about $5 a month, or I should say 1,000 contacts for $5 a month. And you can take that to a pretty significant number. I believe there is a cap on it, but it's in like 150,000 range. Clarification, if you do Perpetual but don't cancel the annual after year 1, you still have the permanent license forever, but year 2 goes down to the annual price. That's a little confusing the way it's worded, but let me try to clarify that here. So if you do Perpetual, you can decide not to do anything in year 2, and your software is going to continue working. You just won't get the updates and the support. But in year 2, if you decide you still would like to have the updates and support, you can renew your license into an annual subscription. By buying the Perpetual license up front and then renewing into the annual subscription, you'll continue to get the updates, you'll continue to get the support, yet still have the option to walk away at any time with the latest version of the product that you had while your subscription was active, and not have to pay any more for that. So if you think it might take you, say, 3 years to do everything you want to do with ACT, and then you're going to be good, you won't need support or updates anymore, then you could buy a Perpetual license up front, renew the annual for 2 years, get to ACT version 20 or whatever it might be a few years down the road, and then walk away with an ACT version 20 that you completely own outright and can continue to use forever. We can continue addressing some questions here, but we are approaching 11 o'clock. So I'm going to just jump to the last couple of slides here, get through those quickly so we can respect everybody's time here in the 1 hour commitment that you've made. But we'll continue to stay on the line as well beyond that initial hour if there are additional questions that anybody has. So in summary here, I know we've covered a lot, but I want to make a few points as we wrap up here. With the upcoming sunset and obsolescence of ACT 2013 this fall, the time to do something is now, before you lose support, before your loyalty discount goes away, and before you're no longer able to add any additional seats to your current ACT implementation. And as you've seen here today, there's a lot of great features in ACT version 17. So even without those other driving factors here, version 17 might still be a great product for you. Additionally, the new subscription plans that we outlined here provide you with premium benefits to help you maintain your investment here in your CRM. And remember that your deadlines are August 31st and September 30th. There's significant price breaks afforded to you by making the decision to move to ACT version 17 before your 2013 product is sunset and obsolete. Now, each of you have had contact with Greg, Maggie, or Drew. That's how you got signed up for this webinar. If you're interested in taking advantage of any of the price breaks available before August 31st, please let us know as soon as you can. We'll be sure to have those conversations with you in the coming days here. So thank you, everyone, for your time today. We really appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to helping you get the most out of your ACT. And we're going to stay on the line here and address a few more questions, but understand if you need to jump off here. So thanks again. Have a great day. Another question here. If you purchase the annual subscription, can you purchase the perpetual license in year 2 and then renew? Yes, you can purchase a perpetual license after you've purchased the annual license. So you purchase the annual license, you like what it's doing for you, you decide later on to that you want to be able to walk away with the product, you buy that perpetual license. You still have benefits for another year because the perpetual license includes the benefits in year 1. And then at the end of that year, the updates and the support benefits would tail off, but you would own that latest version of the product there. So yes, you can have the perpetual license on the back end as well. Is there a function that will identify bad or invalid emails in your database? Not directly built into the system, not necessarily before you send the email out, but there are some tools that we're aware of that can help with that, that will identify issues in formatting or invalid characters, things like that. ACT also, though, has some tools available that, when somebody's email bounces, you have an ability now to look them up directly within the ACT system and mark them as bounced in there so that somebody maybe on your end can follow up with them and get the correct email address. Different things like that are available within the system for after the emails actually go out. If you get ACT Cloud, you also need ACT Premium. So if you go with the Premium Cloud subscription, ACT is hosting your database, and you have multiple ways of accessing that. You can access via a web browser, you can access via mobile, or you can download what we call an offline client or a remote synchronization database. If you wanted to do the remote synchronization database, then what you would be installing on your local systems would be the ACT Premium product, and that would be part of the ACT Cloud subscription. Well, it seems like the questions are slowing down a little bit. If you've got anything else you guys want to address here, please feel free to post into the chat, or you're obviously capable of asking those questions separately via email or in the follow-up conversations that we have with you in the next couple of weeks here too. So can we have categories in the My Images tab within eMarketing to organize the templates to find the pictures better? Yes, actually that was another question earlier, but yes, absolutely, that is something you can do. Somebody says, we just purchased our most recent ACT. How long until it's obsolete? That's a great question. And with the transition to subscription, I'm not exactly sure on when ACT version 16 and ACT version 17 are going to enter into obsolescence and sunset. We may have to do a little bit of research to dig into that because I think that could change. The old policy may be changing a little bit now that we get into these new subscription models. So, Maggie, if you could note who that was, we'll make sure that we circle back to them on that. All right, we'll hang out for just a couple more minutes here, see if any other questions come in, and we'll try to address those as well here. Again, thank you everyone for taking the time today. We really appreciate it. Looks like the questions have really slowed down here, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. If there's anything we couldn't answer or didn't get to on the call, we will be able to circle back to you individually on those. So thanks again, everyone. I hope you have a great day.